All right, so I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this audio or I'm going to have to record clean audio, but for the time being, this is a video about the Assassin, which is the class that I main, and I don't know, there's a lot of new players to the Ghost of Tsushima player base, fan slash player base. Um, this build is kind of my for everything build. I don't really play with different builds for different things. Like sometimes I will, but it's just mainly for, you know, just if I'm having fun. But usually my builds just work across all types of gameplay for Ghost of Tsushima. Um, this one though is the best that I could come up with for Nightmare Survival. Um, it's just like a lot of trial and error, just figuring out my style and trying to get something that gives me the damage output that I want, for my play style and makes me a little bit more competitive. I know it's never going to measure up to Ronin or Hunter, but this is a pretty solid build. Um, the best way that I could sort of make the assassin competitive is by focusing on health. Ultimate damage. This one though, a lot of people are not gonna like it because the main feature of the assassin is to assassinate, and I don't really assassinate too much with this build. As you can see, the things that do synergize are melee damage, ultimate damage, and damage increase, and status effect damage. So the way that works is with the bomb pack. Uh, you just uh, what was I saying? Well, no, no, never mind. So going back to damage increase. So damage increase affects your ghost weapons. Way of the Flame is a ghost weapon, and it can be triggered with the ultimate. Um, and so whenever you build your ult, you pop Way of the Flame, and then you go into your ult. And so all the damage from melee damage, ultimate damage, status effect damage on the bomb pack, and then the damage increase, all that synergizes and creates massive damage, as opposed to just having your ult with nothing to beef it up uh, with. And what's key about this build is Masamune Edge, because you'll notice that when it procs, when it gives you that double damage, with all that damage, I've seen it to where I could almost take out a white-haired spear Oni with one hit when it procs. It's insane, like the amount of damage that it can do. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't proc all the time, and a lot of times the assassin's ult is tricky to um, control. Even though you can target, sometimes it'll go the chaotic environment such as Nightmare Survival, sometimes it's going to go somewhere else, uh, to like the closest enemy, and it'll be like a small guy. So like, who knows? Maybe your Masamune Edge double damage procced during that, and it's kind of wasted. All right. So stealth attack damage, I do have that on the smoke bomb just because I want to be able to assassinate and kind of I'm trying to optimize as much as I can with what I have with this build. So because I do have a critical hit and then that 25% more, I get more assassination damage. So like a that's an assassin technique that's for me it makes more sense, because a lot of times it's just being able to to get one of those like spear guys or the uh, the the shield brutes that you can take out with still with the assassin. I mean, they're not like the base level enemies that anyone can take out if you don't have any stealth attack damage, but being able to one shot one of those guys is sometimes it's just nice to have that, as opposed to the cooldown for the vanish, which I don't really vanish that much. It's usually honestly on Nightmare Survival I mainly use it for um, buying stuff or like getting people rest. So that experienced assassin, that's just kind of a no-brainer for survival. You don't want your assassinations to take 2, 3 times as long. Uh, and then obviously the 5-hit ultimate is a must for me because my whole build is predicated on ultimate damage. So with that said, going back to the build, as you can see, these are all perfect rolls. It takes a long time to get these, so honestly, unless you're like really OCD about things like this, whatever you can get that's like high enough will do. You know, as high a percentage as you can. Obviously, like I try to stay within, even before I got my perfect rolls. You know, I try to stay within 1% of the full value. Otherwise, I would just keep rolling. Um, I'm gonna say though, s- uh, uh, charms and katanas are notoriously difficult to roll because so many different properties. But the bomb pack or like your ranged weapons and your ghost weapons are gonna be pretty easy because they only have a few, especially ghost weapons. They only have a few properties to choose from, so you can usually get good rolls on those. Yeah, so let's go into a survival. So I can kind of show you guys how to do this. Or not how to do this, but rather the way that I play with this build. I'm gonna go to farm because I usually, that's just for Aoi village. This is usually where I go, whether I'm playing with friends or with randoms, because I have a pretty good method of clearing farm. Uh, Usually you want to use as much of the barrels as you can because just they're just great. Barrels are your friends. Who watch us obviously love to destroy them as you're getting them. So you want to get rid of that Tengu as soon as possible as well. So this is something that's really annoying that happens a lot in survival, which is you'll assassinate someone and then they decide that you're a little bit too late, so it just vanishes. Where are you going? Be wary of any. Usually, get rid of your archers as soon as possible because they love to get you caught in your ult or like an assassination or whatever. All right, and get rid of your small enemies just because of what I said at the targeting. All right, now that you have your bigger enemies left, get rid of that guy. Alright, so these bad boys are what you want to focus your ultimate damage on. They, of course, are a nuisance. Whenever you see that AoE, just roll away. And that's kind of the gist of how I use this build. Obviously, it takes some practice, getting used to it, but yeah. Usually the way that I clear this, I'll just go, people are already like clearing the villa by this point, especially if it's a group of people you're not friends with. It's just random matchmaking. You'll see that everyone kind of sticks together. I tend to just try to be solo as much as I can. While they're doing villa, at this point they're probably already done clearing stable and working on villa. I try to get these 2 barrels in position, and then kind of just wait for the spawn. It spawns at farm left or farm forest, and then as soon as these guys spawn, you actually don't really need a lot of bombs here with those two barrels. They're gonna wipe most of that wave. But yeah, so that's basically a little snippet of the assassin build. Useful tips for AoE or AoE. Try to get the ammo as much as you can, just because you can buy it every 2 waves. This map does have a lot of ghost offerings, so as long as people are running munitions, it should be fine. But yeah, if you're like me and you're playing by yourself a lot, you might not get those munitions. So try to get the ammo, and don't hog the ammo, because that, it's doesn't really optimize the fact that you can buy it every 2 waves. It's kind of a waste if people hog it, and a pet peeve for some players, I know. All right.